Okay guys, now that I've got the nocking point set, I've bare shaft tuned my bow where my bare shaft is hitting where my fletched arrows are. I'm gonna back up to 25 a little bit, 25 yards, shoot some arrows, see how the groups are. Now, if I'm bare shaft tuning for indoor, I would likely bare shaft tune at 18 meters or 20 yards. I probably should do that here, but I know what the results are gonna be, so 15 yards gives me a good enough result where I can start tuning from there. So I'm going to step back at 25. I'm going to have to take my earpiece out because I fought with that a little bit. But I'm going to take this out and we're going to step back here and see how my group goes. Now the thing I want to do here is try to recreate the best shot that I can every time. Get my arm guard just a little bit. I'm not used to shooting in long sleeves, so my arm guard keeps sliding down just a little bit. That's another thing you're going to learn in a longbow. If you go ahead and get your excuses ready for shooting poorly, you don't have to think about them later. That actually cut pretty good. We're going to do one more and see where our group is. Then we're going to go down and talk about it. I held that one a little too long. So, like I said before, if you've got a bad shot, especially during tuning, reshoot it. Don't worry about the information that shot gets you. You know it was a bad one when you let it go. There, that was a little better. All right, let's go see. Okay guys, here's the target. I was aiming at this point here. You can see my group went up and to the left a little bit. I expect them to go left. It is longbow that's not cut past center, so they're going to go left. That's the reason I'm shooting a little weaker arrows. This one here, I plucked or whatever I did on that, and it was a bad shot when I let it go. Totally expected it to go somewhere crazy. So we're going to go back and talk about what changes I can make to get there. Okay, so let's talk about that target for a minute. My arrows were grouped high and to the left of where I was aiming. The left is what it is. You know, I'm shooting longbow. I can cant and bring that back to the right, but I'm really wanting to learn to shoot that bow straight up and down, so I may have to aim a little further right. I've seen my good friend and teammate, Mr. Michael Davenport, shoot his bow over in Slovenia. Seen him set a record this year for indoor longbow. He holds his bow straight up and down and does it very, very well. So I'm trying to learn from one of my teammates there. And the reason is, if I'm canting this bow, you know, and I'm on the lane and I'm canting like this, I get really close to the guys beside of me. I shot Lancaster this year. It was a problem for me. Not that I was getting in his way, but mentally I just couldn't execute my shots well because I was worried about interfering with this guy. So I'm trying to straighten everything up. Having said that, if my group is top left of the target from where I'm aiming, I can do a couple things to correct that and bring it down. First thing I can do is raise my nocking point. That will lower my group. But since I went through the trouble of bare shaft tuning, and I know it's about right, I really don't want to do that if I don't have to, okay? Another thing I could do, all right guys, I got my arrows swapped out, went to a 150 grain. We're going to shoot these, see how they do. I'd like to stay around 150. I don't want to go any heavier than that because it'll start putting too much arch in my arrows. Think your arrows are shooting in the arc. That's where archery came from, was the arch. The heavier the arrow, the more arch it's going to have. I want to keep that relatively flat. It'll help out on my gaps later when I start shooting. So I'm going to send these down there. We're going to see what they're going to do, and I may adjust the nocking point. We'll just have to see. So let's see what we do. much better already. Yeah. So 25 grains made a pretty big difference down there. So I definitely don't want to go any heavier. All right, let's go check them out. All right, guys. Again, aiming here. 25, dropping them down where they should be. I had a couple get over here on the left of me. I'm not perfect in my form right now. I haven't done my usual warm-ups this morning. I usually shoot 30 or 40 arrows before I really start getting into a lot of shooting. So I'm pretty happy with that. I'm liking the way they're flying. They're all in the target nice and straight. I am shooting just a little left. I totally expected that. So I should be able to come back and aim right around here or outside the 10 ring or maybe even an 8 ring on a 3D target and be good to go. So I'm gonna go back, shoot a few more and see what we come up with. All right, guys, I'm gonna do a little more shooting around. I think I'm a little hot still at 25 yards. So I'm gonna do some shooting with 150 grain heads. I'm gonna go down to 175 grain, shoot some of those. And I know I've either got to add more weight in front or raise my knocking point up a little bit. So I'm just going to shoot around a little bit, different lengths or different distances, whatever. See what works best for this bow. But my main goal is to come up with a 25-yard point on and then work backwards from there. Some guys may like a 20-yard point on and raise up, you know, shoot that 25-yard shot. I have a hard time doing that. I flinch a lot because I'm trying to watch that arrow. So if I can keep my field of vision where everything kind of looks the same going back, I do better. So we're going to play around with it. We're going to shoot 25 yards and in with 150 grain and 175 grain. I'll decide something, whether I want to move the weight or move the knocking point, and then I'll come back and we'll talk about what I did and how to do it. Okay, guys, I've decided that I'm going to stick with the 150s on this setup. And really what I'm wanting to do is I'm wanting that arrow from, say, 22 to 25 yards, not to drop a whole lot. And that's what the 175s are doing. And every now and then I'd get just a little weak and they'd pull a little further right than what I was expecting. But I'm going to stick with the 150s. I think that's going to be the way to go. I'm going to shoot a group real quick. You can check it out and see. I'm still getting used to having this bow straight up and down. So every now and then I'll do something silly with my release or not having enough back tension, but I think I'm getting it figured out. So check this one out and we'll go down and see how they do. I had a lot of string torque on that one. That arrow really kind of flew funny. Hitting a pretty good spot, but I had to do a lot of correcting there. Let's see if I can fix that problem. Much cleaner release, much cleaner. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to stick with the tune of actually doing the barrel shaft tuning, getting those arrows flying a little better down there and not mess around with the knock point and all that, is if you get your bow tuned where you're shooting barrel shaft inside your groups, if you do have a problem like I just did on that first arrow, I had a bad release, twisted the string a little bit, put a little torque in it, those arrows have a chance to correct themselves much better. So that's one of the reasons I didn't want to mess with my knocking point on that setup. Let's do the last two here. Hitting just a little left, that's okay. All in all, not too bad. It's a dead deer. Not too bad. All right, guys, just a little to the left, so I gotta adjust my gap to the right. Not too bad. Had a few. This one was a little inconsistent on the release, but again, not too bad for a 3D setup at 25 yards. I'm gonna go back, adjust my sights, fix the nut behind the string just a little bit, push it to the right, and see what I can come up with next. Okay, guys, I know that I can cant this bow a little to the right, drop them in where I want to, but that's not the game. I'm really wanting to learn how to shoot this bow straight up and down to help me on the indoor season. So that's where my struggles are, pushing everything to the left. I know, and you guys are probably screaming at me, hey, cant your bow, they'll go right. I'm totally aware of that. I'm just trying to play the gap game here and do it all I can. So this is gonna be my last group for today. We're gonna shoot them out there and see what happens. Just a little to the right of that. Let down, that would have been a horrible shot. Big flinch. Okay guys, now that I've got my bow shooting like I want to at 25, still working on some process and some form things that I'm doing, but I'm gonna take a few minutes here. I'm gonna shoot an arrow at 25 and walk up 20, 15, 10, somewhere around there. I'm gonna start learning my gaps with this bow now that I got it set up. So I'm gonna shoot 4 arrows, different distances, see where I can get, and then I'm probably gonna go in and take it easy for the rest of the day. This is at 25. Nice shot. I'm gonna walk up to about 20. And like I said, these are all just kind of guesses. We can't use rangefinders on the range anyway, so let's just guess and see what I've got. Not bad, a little close. Still went where I wanted to. bad. All right, guys, that was my grouping, 25, 20, 15, and 10. Maybe just a little hot. Not really worried about that. I can always bring it down. To give you an idea, at 25, I was point on. 20, I was probably holding the bottom of the 10 ring. 15, probably a couple inches lower than that. And 10, I was kind of holding right around in here, which is pretty good single arrow. So that's kind of my gaps. I'll work on those as I go, but I'm really liking the way these arrows are flying. Think I've got a good setup. Could actually tighten the string back up, okay? And that would slow the string down a little bit and drop those arrows in. I really don't want to do that either. I'm running a good brace height that I like for these arrows. And I knew shooting these carbons, that was going to be a little hot down there. They were going to be a little higher. My wood arrows would probably drop right in, but that's the difference between a 416 grain arrow and say a 600 grain or 550 grain arrow. They're going to drop in. So I may have just hit on something there. The one thing that I can control is the tip weight. I've got 125 grains in here. So I'm going to jump up a little bit. I'm going to put 150s in them. That will do two things. It'll give me just a little bit of drop at the end. I can be point on at 25 yards, hopefully, or really close. It'll actually weaken these arrows just a touch. So they may come over to the right just a little bit. Again, I'm not really worried about the right and left. When I get that gap, I'll be able to run it pretty consistently. But I would like to get that height down. A lot of people, or before we go back there, I could actually raise my anchor point and that would bring the arrows down. But guys, my anchor point is all the way up here in the middle of my nose by my cheekbone. I'm not going to be able to do that and shoot like I want to. If my arrows were cut, I could lengthen my arrow. That would drop them down out there. But I'm running full length, 34 inch, pulled them out of the box, started shooting them arrows. So I can't add any more weight or any more length to them. So we're gonna go around, play around with some weight and see what I can come up with. So let me change those out and we'll get back with you. Okay guys, now that I've got my bow shooting like I want to at 25, still working on some process and some form things that I'm doing. But I'm gonna take a few minutes here. I'm gonna shoot an arrow at 25 and walk up 20, 15, 10, somewhere around there. I'm gonna start learning my gaps with this bow now that I got it set up. So I'm gonna shoot 4 arrows, different distances, see where I can get, and then I'm probably gonna go in and take it easy for the rest of the day. This is a 25. Nice shot. I'm gonna walk up to about 20. And like I said, these are all just kind of guesses. We can't use rangefinders on the range anyway, so let's just guess and see what I've got. Not bad, a little close. Still went where I wanted to. Not too bad. All right guys, thanks for joining me on this video as I swap my string out for the 3D season. Got my arrows tuned up the way that I want to, shooting pretty consistent. All I need now is to work on my gaps a little bit. I plan on doing another video later on about showing you how I get my gaps, how I get those set, how I remember them. The changes that I may make along the way. Tomorrow we've got a 3D tournament we're going to shoot, so hopefully I can get some footage from that, get you kind of out on the range and show you what we go to on that. But thanks again for joining me in this video series. Send me some comments if you got any questions about the reason that I did what I did, or maybe the setups that you got, if you want to share some of those with me. Send me some comments on what you would like videos done on, traditional archery wise, whether it be an indoor setup or my 3D, if you want me to do some more explaining on that. If you've got any information about any of the equipment you see me use, my Roots longbow, my hipster quiver. I've got a really cool tab on the way. I'm hoping to do a review on that before long. So like I said, guys, anything you want to see or got any questions, be sure to comment those. Like and share these videos, and hope to get more content out to you soon. Thank you.